Good evening, friends. I am happy to welcome someone who I would like to greet right now. It's Lieutenant Colonel David Richardson. David, hi, how are you?
Good, Yura, thanks.
So we have here a company of mostly Russian Americans. A lot of us speak English. Most of my programs are in Russian. So we try to combine and to bring a fresh perspective and wise and experienced things from various walks of life. And what, of course, looms large these days is the situation in Ukraine, the concept of war as it is today. What would be goals when you can achieve so much without even starting a war today? And you just wrote a piece for Epoch Times, your piece of your outlook at the Russian-Ukrainian war, I shall say, Putin's war. And tell us a few words about yourself, and we'll talk about your service and about your art and about your writing, because you did all of it and then some more.
Yeah, so look, my background is I'm from the Great Lakes, but most of my family is from the southern part of the United States. And the Great Lake region, specifically where I'm from, had a lot of people from the South after World War I and World War II, and they worked in the auto industry there.
Mm-hmm. Detroit, the motor city.
Right. But most of my people are south, and I kind of drifted back down south. In fact, I went to school in Arkansas, where I studied biology. And then a year or two after I graduated college, I joined the Marine Corps. That was 1991. And essentially, I spent 2 years in the Marine Corps. I was a ground combat officer, and I shot artillery, essentially, in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. I went to combat in Iraq. Was a combat tour, fighting in the streets of Ramadi, Iraq, in 2006. By the way, it was kind of the dark days of those in Iraq. I trained and I fought alongside Iraqi troops. There was an 11 team, and we fought alongside about 350 Iraqis in an Iraqi battalion. I ended up doing a couple of other very interesting tours. One of them was in South Korea, where I coordinated the exercise that you hear about when they exercise in Korea, and there's some sailing going on with the North Koreans and that type of thing. So I worked on those exercises for 2 years. Eventually, I got out of the Marine Corps, and I worked here in Washington, D.C., where I painted and I was writing a novel. By the way, I grew up in an environment of art. And I painted the entire time in the Marine Corps. My work primarily in Washington, D.C., in New York. In fact, I'm having a show in New York in May. I think it's on May 19th on the Upper East Side. But anyhow, eventually I became the Assistant Secretary in the Department of Homeland Security for countering weapons of mass destruction. I was a Trump opponent. Mm-hmm. Still doing work in countering weapons of mass destruction while I paint to consider writing another novel. So that's my history.
Yeah, let's not weapons of mass destruction interfere with your painting. Yeah, but seriously, yeah, and everybody's looking at those who came from Soviet Union or Russia or former Soviet republics, they know how pervasive this culture of threatening other countries and naming it fighting for peace, all those things that were such a habitual thing for lying Soviet propaganda, and we see now the reflection of it in Putin's rhetoric. What do you think? How real is Russian military might? Because today is you touch upon it in your article, but I wanted to hear it from you. Because today the Lieutenant General of Russian 49th Combined Army, Yakov Ryazantsev, became number 7 general who got killed in this conflict. In this war with Ukraine, a Russian general got killed, number 7. 7 generals killed to date. And it's interesting to note that the number of casualties on the Russian side, 15,000, as they say, Ukrainian side says, and the Pentagon says, yeah, it's kind of the upper limit, side of it, upper end. But it's how many Russian soldiers were killed, Soviet soldiers were killed in 10 years in Afghanistan. That was the official number, 15,000. I remember it. Everybody remembers it who lived that time. But it's on one hand, we hear this military machine is absolutely formidable and great. And on the other hand, we have all those cases where soldiers today, they traded the tank. The tank commander or the driver of a tank came to the Ukrainian side for $10,000 in Ukrainian citizenship. He turned in his tank, came out of it, laid on the ground, and he became the first Russian soldier who did that. So what's the opinion on your end on the Russian military might and how probable it is that they would use nuclear weapons?
I'll get to the ability of nuclear weapons, and also I'll talk about why I think the Russian army is formidable at all. But I'll first say that, particularly in war, reports are nearly always wrong. And generally in a war, sides, particularly if two conventional forces, oddly enough, often suffer the same casualties. So when I see that the Ukrainians have suffered like 1,500 casualties and the Russians have suffered 14,000 casualties, that's hard for me to get my mind. Because I do know that each side reports the figures that will cause. So I think it's going out somewhere less than what it is right now. Could be more casualties, but I'm pretty skeptical of all casualty reports. We kept a pretty close count in Iraq of our casualty reports, but we couldn't get a handle on what the Iraqi casualties, particularly the civilians, you don't really know, and that'll shake out eventually. I wouldn't take. For the part, it is to bolster the cause of side. So, kind of my thoughts on that. As far as the Russian generals being killed, I don't know the origin of that. Look, commanders lead army, which I knew the old tactics. I don't necessarily know more about the new Soviet tactics. I'm sure they have more of a maneuver warfare type of tactics, but the tradition of the Soviet Russian army has been a siege army. At least it was when it was the army. So we've got a combination of like siege type army, but there's also a maneuver element. But let me start with let me say something about the nukes because I'll get to a second. I want to address that up front. Look, nuclear weapons are the 800-pound gorilla in the war room. Have been since the World War II, where we used them. Since then, all strategy has been, to one degree or another, affected by nuclear weapons. I know that on the Korean Peninsula it is. During the Korean War it was. Anytime we got near Soviets and now the Russian consideration, the Indians and the Pakistanis is always consideration, is this going to escalate into some type of nuclear event? In the case of the Russians, I know that as a threat, and I think Vladimir Putin has already alluded at least to the fact that he has nuclear weapons. So the tragedy there is that, look, Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons by the end of the Russians and the West was in the 1990s, and now they're in a position where, in some sense, they're defenseless because they don't have NATO backing them for many reasons, and they don't have nuclear. So, what does it tell a country essentially that you nuclear weapons to defend yourself? So, I don't think this will escalate into a nuclear war, but I do think that just the threat is what Mr. Putin can use to leverage his.
Yeah, his position is another thing, but you know what? People are complaining. Oh, it works. Yeah, because people were complaining about the quality of sound. I recommended everybody to restart their app, and it looks it's better. No, some say it's no better from Canada. So, David, what do you think? If we break, restart, and we reconnect and we continue, I don't know why it's not working this way, but I wanted to remain a high quality webcast. So, guests, please don't go anywhere. Friends, don't go anywhere. We'll be back. David, we'll disconnect and reconnect in all within, I would say, 90 seconds is going to happen, minute and a half. All right, everybody, hold tight, hold the line. We'll be back.